I got Facebook, and that's what it says.
Yeah,
Facebook.
And that guy that I also liked, who he was in the like smoke weed every day group. The other guy.
Smoke weed every day.
No, no, that's right. Sure.
I don't know. So wait, what day is the next Superkick'd? The 21st?
21st of February.
Oh, I'm supposed to babysit for you that day. I might not be able to.
Also, Fastlane is the next day.
I'm so sorry, but oh my God, I met Alex Vega.
Yeah, well, I met Kobe Durst.
I know, who's amazing.
How do you like that?
For the weekend.
So that was cool, right? I like that.
That was awesome.
That was really good.
Like, honestly, being a non-wrestling guy, I loved it.
Yeah, it was actually well set up for that, because I also missed, literally, most of it. I'm pretty drunk. But just for an excuse to go hang out and have wrestling happen in the background, very nice.
Well, like, for the first half of it, Madison and I just hung out at the back of the room
They weren't paying
talking about
attention
shit.
until, like, at least the intermission.
That was great, though. But that's really all I, like, that's all I want out of anything. If I go see a band, most of it I'm going to be talking to people at the back.
Yeah, it's almost annoying if you're like that super nerd that is like, hey, sorry, I'm trying to pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think it's big enough to be that guy.
Yeah. Keith, why don't you be roving reporter? You start at this end and then like work your way down.
Yeah, we'll go side A to side B.
Yeah.
You know who's from Aberdeen? Daniel Bryan. Yes! That's the wrestling reference, Joel.
Oh, thanks.
So, Neil, first time on the Smarkamania podcast.
Sounds good.
How did you feel about the show?
It was a very good show. I was quite impressed. Some great talent there.
It was cool, right?
Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah, amazing main event.
I really do, because I was saying, like, last month it was me, Jason, and Julie, and that was it. This month, everyone in the world came, and I was like...
Packed house.
Yeah.
Standing room only at the end there.
And I was thinking, like, this will be a cool month, but no one will come back. But I feel like maybe some people will come back. It was fun, right?
I bet you everyone at this table is coming back for the next one.
I hope so.
I agree. It was actually really cool to see because I don't know any of Jason and Keith's friends. So aside from having the pressure of remembering everybody's name, everybody also came from a different background. So it was hard to hold an expectation of pleasing everybody. And I feel like, hopefully, I think everybody was satisfied.
You know what's crazy about this is that I lose friends, annually. Every year I lose a couple of friends.
Intentionally?
No, it's just I have emotional problems.
Okay.
But I still have this many friends. Isn't that good? That's good, right?
Well, you lose one, you pick one up. It all works out in the end, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I should set a timer from when you're going to drop me?
Yeah, after like 5-6 years, we're going to have trouble. But I don't know, I just feel good about myself because I was feeling kind of bad. I'm like, I keep getting in fights with people, but I have all these backups. It's okay. Speaking of backups, my brand new friend Stu. So Stu from Newfoundland and then Nova Scotia, how'd you feel about this big Toronto wrestling show?
You know what? I felt like it was one of the greatest events I've ever witnessed. It was incredible. It was a real smorgasbord of demographics. You know, I saw the strangest folk I've ever seen in my life there, and it was wonderful. And it was like some kind of magical circus, and I just happened to be lucky enough to be there. And I also was lucky enough to find the single greatest photograph ever taken. This is a photograph of Paul London here, and as you can see, we have a Cyclops, an owl, dual-wielding pistols, and some creepy-ass shit in the background. But here, clearly, Space Commander Paul London, star of the show tonight for me, really topped it off, and I walked away with this for $5. And of course, we have
Julie's got the Space Monkey.
I also picked that one up because Space Monkey's at a playground, and I'm pretty sure all the kids had to get evac'd out of there, but they got this great picture. Man, hey, I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Keith.
That's super great because Jason told me, he's like, yeah, my friend Stu's coming to visit, and I'm going to make him go to wrestling. And I was like, I feel bad that he had to go. But then you bought merch, you were into it.
He never had to twist my arm once. He was literally like, oh, wrestling? And I was like, fuck yeah! And he told all his friends that he twisted my arm. But really, I was in it from the start.
All right,
I'll be in it until the end.
You know what this means? Soft sell, but you clearly have to move to Toronto. You clearly have to move here. Look you have built-in friends. You have like 12 friends. So I'm just saying.
I've got no reason not to.
I know. I'm just saying. Okay, who else for our pre-show? Brand new people. Brody. Yo, how'd you feel about that show? This is our pre-show interview of brand new people.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here on this particular podcast. Been a big fan of this particular podcast for a long time. It's a dream come true. Yeah, I don't know how to feel right now. My first live show in 10, 15 years.
I like turtles.
I love turtles. I love space monkeys. I'm very happy this guy got his pictures he wanted.
I wish he would have thrown some feces at the picture, because that would have been like the ideal autograph. For me.
Authenticity,
Yes.
am I right?
Exactly what I would have said.
I cornered him in the bathroom, but he did not appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was going to the bathroom, I saw RJ City, and I told him he did an awesome job, so we're best friends now.
Which one was RJ City?
He was the guy that had the cityscape on his butt.
I recall that particular person.
He's from the Six-Man Tag.
Oh my God, I'm totally going to intervene here because I know RJ City. I don't have the pleasure of saying we're friends yet. I really hope he likes me though. But
run into him in the bathroom or anything?
no, but he was signing autographs on two women's chests.
Whoa!
And they asked him to say, "I love you, RJ City." So after those two left, I was like, I am not going to ask for that. A little bit awkward. However, and I told him quickly that I had a couple friends that I met a few shows later or earlier. And so the gist of it is I let him know that some of these people saw him somewhere else doing stand-up comedy. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so grateful you guys came to this. Thank you so much. I love you." And he gave me this hug, and I'm in shock because of it.
You know who saw him doing stand-up? Michael Mongiardi. Tell us the story.
Yeah. He was going by the name R.J. Skinner, which I suppose is his name. And then I was just like, I feel like I know this guy, but why would he be doing improv at some shitty little bar? But he's the same guy. He was great. He had a ponytail.
Yeah. Was he as good at improv as he was at wrestling?
Sure. I don't know how to compare those two things, but yeah.
Keith, I feel like you got in the ring tonight. Did you mix it up with anyone in particular?
Yo, me and Brody had our debut match, and I believe, what was it?
5 stars.
Yeah, I believe you guys tore the house down.
I threw the clothesline from hell, Brody ducked it, and then I heard someone yell, and I'm not sure what it was about, and I was like, that might be about me, so I better get out of the ring. But it was awesome.
Yeah, DQ finish, both parties leave strong. Very good, very good. Mike, what do you have to say about that?
It was amazing. Basically, I'm just going to give you the quick play-by-play. Brody bounced off the rope.
Yeah, I love it.
Went for a what's it called? Clothesline.
Yeah, I love it.
Keith ducked under the clothesline. Keith went off the rope. Keith went for a clothesline. Brody ducked under the clothesline.
Oh my God! How did we come up with this thing? Whoa! Caroline, what do you have to say about this event?
It was great.
If you had to mention Keith and Brody's match particularly, what would you say about it?
Highlight of the evening, hands down.
Wow. I hear you were taking photos of the event in question. I don't care about the rest, but like the Brody Keith part was like very important. Well, how was it taking a piece of history in your phone?
I feel very privileged to have taken that photo.
I agree. I totally agree with you right now.
Man, you're an expert interviewer. Now, Madison, I noticed when I take over your house and watch Wrestling with Jason, apparently every couple of days lately, we're just constantly watching wrestling. And you're not super into it. But you came to this night because social event of the season. How'd you feel?
I thought it was a great event. I feel it was my first live wrestling match, and I thought it was great. I didn't realize the physicality of the wrestlers. Seeing it up close was just really amazing, and you know what? I'm there when you guys are there. I'm there in spirit in my apartment where I live, and I appreciate you guys, and I love that you come over. And I have my own favorites. The women in particular, you know, that was my favorite match of the night. But no, you guys.
All right, well, let's take it to Madison County. Have you been keeping up on Total Divas?
I'm a little bit behind, I have to say, but Brie Bella remains my favorite.
Have you seen any of the episodes with Paige?
Oh, of course.
She's awesome, right?
She is awesome, but I have to say, someone among us, Brody, seems to think that she is only hot some of the time, which I find a little bit suspicious. I don't know what determines that, but no, Emma's my favorite. I wish she were around more. Emma and Brie are where.
Brie is really impressing me lately. She's so good.
I hear that she's no longer feuding with her sister.
So they're just friends for no reason now. I guess because they're twins.
Yeah. No, it was a great match, and I'm really happy to be here amongst you all.
Nice. And I mean, I don't mean to take the negative slant. Whenever you go watch wrestling with us, it's awesome. But then Jason will say like, yeah, Madison's seen Japanese wrestling now. That's awesome. He's into it.
He's into it, and I am more into wrestling than I ever imagined in my wildest dreams I would be 3 years after meeting him.
Now, you know what happened? It's that you went to the Maritimes for a while, and every person from the Maritimes, or Newfoundland, which technically isn't part of the Maritimes, but you know.
No, we're doing our own thing. We got our own thing going on.
Yeah, everyone's into wrestling.
It broke my brain. I don't know what's what anymore. Wrestling is good. Yeah.
Thanks, Madison. If I could just ask you one more question. The Keith versus Brody match. Who are you rooting for and why?
I was rooting for Keith. It all had to do with that clothesline when he went in with the clothesline, and then it happened. I'm on Team Keith. You know, I love Brody, but at the end of the day, it comes down to Keith all the way.
A valid answer, but very wrong. I respect it, though.
We're doing rookie interviews of people that never saw wrestling. Just how'd you feel?
It was pretty exciting.
It was good, right?
Yeah. I liked looking at the people watching the wrestling too.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're only, I'm gonna say, 80% were normal people, and 20% were like the weirdos you expect to watch wrestling.
I didn't expect them to watch wrestling.
Yeah?
No, I thought they'd all be normal people.
What do you think the chances are? There was a pretty big female contingent. What do you think the chances are I can meet my future wife at wrestling? Because they say that, right? Just do what you love, go to a pumpkin patch, whatever, and you'll meet people that, you know, there you go.
I think it could happen. I think it could happen. I think you should come. I don't know. What do you think will increase your chances of meeting someone at a wrestling match?
If I become a wrestler? Like,
those ladies were fun.
Yeah. So how'd you feel, Joel? You haven't seen wrestling since the heyday of Gold Dust. Was that like 97?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's like I've never seen wrestling live, and I love it. I love it because it's like the fact that it's fake is so in your face.
Right.
But it's not fake because those guys are like throwing each other around, right?
And as an example, when the poor young man, Kobe Durst, got beat up, and he's like, "Oh, I got beat up so bad, call the police." So then two wrestlers dressed like police with pig masks came out and beat him the fuck up.
And that was so good. But then on the other hand, like you can see these guys they're like flying across the ring and like doing things that are crazy and look like they're gonna hurt, and they do hurt. I mentioned they do hurt. But then something clicked in my head. I was like, this is burlesque for dudes.
Yeah. See, I love that because I always thought of it as like ballet or interpretive dance, but burlesque is a better corollary because it's like, yeah, that thing that's a little bit outside of society. And yeah, like burlesque is for girls and wrestling's for dudes. It's totally true.
And it's sort of like it's about confidence, and it's about sort of theater, and it's about all the stuff that burlesque does that I like totally fucking admire. Wrestling, this indie wrestling specifically, that's exactly what it is.
It's true because, yeah, like burlesque is the empowered version of stripping, and wrestling is like the empowered version of like UFC or boxing. Like,
Totally.
Like I wouldn't want to see people legitimately hurt each other. I like to see them work with each other and like do a show. It's cool.
Yeah, I like the fact that there's a little bit of pretend that you have to do.
Yeah.
Like when a guy comes out.
When a guy is dressed like a monkey, you know it's not a real contest.
Also, when he comes out as a space monkey, you're like, I need to cheer for that man. Like you understand who the hero is, space monkey. But like the heels, it's like when the heels come out, and you're like, boo, these guys are terrible, and it's like, you know that they're not terrible, right? Like, but there's something about like understanding that theater of things is like, oh, they're gonna do some things to make themselves be really terrible, but they're never that terrible.
Hey, you guys! All right, Julia, you wanted to end the pre-show. What do you got?
Okay, so I have an idea. Everybody listen in. Since this is the pre-show, we want to get everybody hyped about the 8 matches that happened tonight. So, on the count of 3, find an opponent or find a match that you loved, and on 3, you're all going to yell it, okay? And then hopefully this will be a really good introduction to the actual podcast. 1, 2, 3.
Awesome.
What? I don't know. All right, we'll get back to it. We'll get into part 2.
Black everything, black everything, black everything, black everything, black everything, black everything,
Super Kick. Hello, Smarkamaniacs, and welcome to episode 8 of Smarkamania. My name is Jason Phillips, and I'm going to be your number 1 Smarkamaniac, and sort of your eater of worlds, so to speak. So basically what we did is we went to Superkick'd, 'D, and we saw a great live wrestling show. If you're a Smarkamaniac and you keep up with the podcast, you know that we went to Fight Brand about a month ago. We saw some great matches, but nothing will compare to what we saw tonight, as it was by far and away much better than the previous show that we saw. They sort of took the Fight Brand and gave them all more gimmicks, they added more angles, and we saw a lot of really cool stuff. The main event of the evening, of course, was thank you.
Chris Sabin, Paul London. What? All right, so we got Julia, that of course was at Fight Brand, that we met in the lineup for Fight Brand.
Yes.
And we were all kind of drunk and stuff, so we were less aware of what happened tonight. So I definitely know I missed the Space Monkey because I was waiting for Jason. So hook us up. What happened?
Okay, so we'll do a quick, brief overview to add to what Jason was saying is what I put together later in the evening, and we'll touch on that when it comes out. But there are 2 main brands in Toronto, and in the Mississauga area, it's called Squared Circle, and of course in the GTA, it's Fight Brand. So what happened was the owner from Fight Brand, which is Ashley Six, and the owner from Squared Circle, whom I'm really sorry but I don't know, they decided to merge. And that is why Superkick'd has started. And that we were kind of wondering why Fight Brand had to end and what was going on. That is what happened. So instead of doing a 3-hour event, such as last time, they decided 8 matches, 2 hours, and they had 2 intermissions. So, 2 open, we had Space Monkey, which was the face, and the heel, whom I have no idea who this guy was. He was bald, he looked like a fighter, but he didn't say much, and he wasn't really that great. Space Monkey was clearly the crowd favorite, and that's kind of where we start.
So now, I come in, we're kind of waiting in line. I hear Space Monkey's music, which is, of course, Spaceman by Biff Naked. So basically, we can kind of gloss over this, but I get hyped at this point, and we're sort of waiting in line, and once we get our drinks, I sort of don't realize that, oh, we're at a wrestling event. So naturally, that's when I start to sort of reflect on what we're doing. And we have a big crew. There's a lot of people here. So let's move. Julia, why don't you run down what the next match entails? Because the first match is probably a throwaway. It will. The wrestler Monkey Man will come up later, of course, for the main event. But what was the second match?
And the monkey guy won, right? He totally won?
Yeah, Space Monkey won, hands down. It was a pretty short match, relatively speaking. Nothing overly crazy, but a few good moves by Space Monkey, and he won. Second match, Alessandro Del Bruno, which is a soccer player. That's his niche, who is obviously the face.
Yeah, football, please. Show some respect.
We're in Toronto. Come on.
Alejandro Del Santo.
Bear with us. There's quite a few people, and we've all had a great night. But we're in Toronto, so I'm going to call this soccer. And again, the heel is unknown, so I'm not quite sure if they grabbed these new wrestlers in or if they were from Squared Circle, but the heel was very mean and a lot bigger than Del Bruno.
What I really liked about Delfino, though, was the fact that he had a soccer gimmick. And
Delfino or Del Bruno?
Or Del whatever.
Whatever.
It was a Del...
I can't remember either.
Anyway, the soccer guy, he comes out in full soccer regalia. And
Italian.
Yeah, and Italian, of course. But the thing is like, normally you have a soccer gimmick and you don't really play up the kicks. But this guy had amazing kicks. Like the kicks he was doing the over-the-head kick. He would like set him up and he would kick him in the face.
But he needed to because he was a small guy compared to the heel. And in terms of brute force, there wasn't a whole lot for him to play with. And kicks was the one thing he knew he could take advantage of.
You know what I would have liked to see, following in the soccer football vein, was to see some diving, some appealing to the ref. And actually at one point in the match, that actually happened where the ref actually pulled out a yellow card against the heel.
Because the heel pulled the shirt over.
Yes, which is an illegal maneuver. And I thought they did a really great job of playing up that soccer gimmick. And I think at first I thought it was a little silly, but by the end of it, I was definitely cheering for Alejandro.
So this is Stu, one of Jason's friends, and he's one of the few among us that are joining the podcast, and absolutely correct. It was really kind of, I didn't really know where it was going when he first put the shirt over the head, and I thought maybe he was going to slam him with a kick or something.
We're going to see that spot 100 times going to these shows. That's going to be his signature spot. And the thing is he won.
Yeah.
He won. But did he win because he won, or was he paying off the ref? I mean, when have you seen a yellow card in a wrestling match? It was crazy.
And the ref was like, "Here's your yellow card back." We did that wrestling spot on to the next match.
Yeah, so that was really great. So by now, we've had two pretty good matches. The opener was actually a favorite, a little bit of a surprise. So we start to hit the third match, which is now a tag team match. And we have the favorite face from the Fight Brand series of the fraternities, which if you listen to the last podcast that we did, I was very much for fraternity and Jason.
It still drives me nuts that these guys are faces.
A fraternity for eternity.
Yeah. How are they good guys?
You want to know what though? I was talking about this too later today because we were, and I was saying how I didn't even really put together that they could be an awesome heel about how, you're not pretty enough or you're not well.
They're natural. A fraternity is a natural heel stable.
Exactly. You got your jock kind of thing going on. Nobody likes jocks.
They come out, they're douchebags. They come to the ring with a paddle, like a fraternity paddle for hazing.
For hazing. Nobody likes that.
They have beer. They spit beer into their opponent's face.
But they're very popular, though.
But somehow the weird stoner guys that came out and did their little stoner salute, they were the heels? Like,
okay, but let's
heel versus heel.
But let's put this into perspective because the fraternity really has mimicked what the wrestling community is like, and they're very opening and welcoming, and that is the approach fraternity takes. Let's all party together. Let's do shots. I want you to cheer while we kick the heel's ass.
They do the shots punches in the corner, which is great.
Yeah. So I think it kind of more respect to them that they were able to grab a persona that isn't what is supposed to be what their persona is, and they made it work, which they do. You touched on a good thing in the opening. The first thing they did was they chugged a bit of beer, and then as the opponents came to them, they spit it in their face to throw them off. So that was a pretty clever start.
And they had a great move called the keg stand, which is a great double tag team match, and it was great watching them. But I gotta say, out of all the fans there were more people with the fraternity shirts on than anyone else. They had a huge crowd following.
Oh, there were a lot of people that had the fraternity shirts on, which was great. Because as an RJ City mark myself, I thought everybody should be just wearing RJ City shirts across the board.
Do they cheer for them because they wish that they were in a fraternity? Is it that sense of belonging?
Well,
what's going on there?
Did you notice the oldest guy in the room had a fraternity shirt on? I thought maybe that's their parents.
It's like, I never went to college, so I'm going to cheer for these guys. I don't know. But you know what? Even saying that, and I did go to college one time, and it was weird. It was weird and awkward, and there was hazing. But let me tell you, by the end of it, I couldn't help but cheer for the fraternity for eternity.
Which I will say is a big win for me, which is a face person as opposed to Jason. I'm totally taking that.
Best in the world!
Man, Stu has the best Vince McMahon voice. He's gonna puke.
Let me tell you, I work in the service industry, and this is how I talk to my customers every day.
I will.
What can I get for you, brother?
What do you want, brother? You're gonna drink that, you pansy.
Well, let me tell you something, mean customer Gene.
There's nothing wrong with putting a lime in any drink, let alone a Corona.
Okay, so I will say one more quick note before we move on to this is the heels, I don't think were a tag team matchup. I think they were two individuals that decided to do a tag team match. I feel really bad that I don't know their name because I've seen them a couple times before and they're pretty good.
Last time we were there, those guys were there, but they fought individual matches.
Yes, that's right.
And the first, the beefcake guy with the white pants on, I thought that he looked real good. No homo.
Let me tell you guys, that was the best match of the night. They were in the crowd. They were smashing chairs. Anybody in the first four rows were getting hot, sweaty fraternity meat all over their faces. It was incredible.
That is actually a good point because the first two matches did have a few crowd participation kind of moves, but this was the first match where they were on the audience probably 4 or 5 times.
What was the name of the show? Is Super Taint, I think? Right in your face.
My taint right in the mouth. One of my favorite ideas was now when these guys were gonna jump into the crowd, everybody kind of got out of the way. But I thought it'd be real funny if some guy was kind of stuck on his cell phone and didn't see it coming, and then all of a sudden, bam, sweaty butt on your face. It would have been incredible.
Real sweaty butt to the face.
Okay, that's good for that one. That was.
We're coming up on my favorite new faction. What's up?
This is the Psycho Mike match where it was actually, I thought that it was just going to be a 6-man and a 3-on-3 tag team.
I know, I thought the same thing, but we also were debating whether or not it was like a Royal Rumble rule style match. But I think it was it's just a fatal 6-way.
It was the first one to get the pin, I think, got the victory.
Well, it started off kind of interesting because my favorite people, and they are actually heels, which is very surprising.
Was that the girl you were telling me about last time?
Yes. So let's give this some context. So absolutely. So first off, Brent Banks, Alex Vega. I couldn't speak enough good things about them on our last podcast, and I say the same thing. They came out, and I knew it was going to be a good match. But they have a speaker, and he always amps up. He does this little shindig, something. The first time I ever saw him, he actually quoted Hitler and used a time capsule.
At the end of the day, I know that's pretty rough, but the all black everything gimmick that they have, where they're this black faction. They're basically like NWO. What's
Nation of Domination?
Yeah.
Right? Am I right?
What's the heavy guy, the guy with the chain?
I don't know.
He sounded like Paul Heyman and had the charisma to back it up, which I thought was intense. And then on top of that, they were this black faction, but they had an Asian, a hot Asian chick as their
She's new because when they did it, it was just them 3. So again, I think just the opening of Superkick'd, they got to create their persona again.
And that's really what I saw tonight compared to last time, because even 13, he was able to develop his character for a minute, and we'll get to that match in a minute. But
now, can I ask you guys a question? Do you think that we're going to see that chick enter the arena, enter the ring at any point, or is she just there?
I think that she's just there as a heater.
No, I mean, he hyped her up as some kind of assassin.
Okay, but hold on. Let's give this some context because you guys listening weren't there. So there are 4 people who come out, and it's Alex Vega, it's Brent Banks, it is their speaker, and it is this new Asian kind of Barbie doll. She had all the makings of it.
I mean, you got to understand that their theme song is all black everything, all black everything. And then there's like, well, there's one thing here that doesn't quite fit with the theme, but hell yeah.
Okay.
She had black hair though, I tell you what.
So anyway, so they come out and he introduces them as these gods and how Alex Vega, Rocksteady Alex Vega, is the best thing that ever touched Earth. And they talk about how Brent Banks was the Squared Circle Championship, and this is where the two companies colliding kind of starts to unfold. So then he talks about himself and how he is Satan himself, and he's the best thing ever and the worst man you'll ever meet. And then he goes on to brag about this Asian girl that we're talking about, who does actually just look like a Barbie, and how she is something that rocks his world. And they do a little kiss, which is funny.
I thought that was fun. There was a lot of like old school, like almost Four Horsemen-esque like camaraderie between all of these individuals. And he was also playing up the fact that, what's the guy with the fight championship?
Brent Banks.
Brent Banks. It was like, this guy is going to go out there tonight, and he's going to unify the Superkick'd or whatever the Ashley Six's NWJ 724 belt, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. Was that Squared Circle?
No, so Brent Banks had Squared Circle. Ashley Six had the fights.
Okay. So anyway, they're going to, later on, we're going to get a really good title match, which was fucking phenomenal. And they sort of built up the night. That's why I like this faction so much. They were a constant during the card because they had people in like a lot of matches, which I thought was really cool. I got an NWO feel. Everybody was booing them so hard because like the common wrestling fan is like, oh, the good guys like the good guys. Oh, the bad guys get booed. Like that's sort of the general wrestling feel that you get. But as a smarky fucking heel lover, I fucking ate every bit of what they were putting up.
I felt like the more they tried to just distance themselves, the more they tried to make themselves feel like a group, the more I wanted to cheer for them. And as the night went on, and they were in multiple matches, I found myself cheering for the heel. Why? Because they had the charisma, they had the moves, they had the athletics, they had the abilities. It was fantastic. All black everything for me. Hell yeah!
I got to say that with his gravelly voice, he really sounds like a wrestler.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, totally.
It's just the Body Ventura is on our podcast.
Totally.
This is a little bit meta.
Okay, so we've kind of touched on a couple of the matches overall. So let's get back to the introduction.
Well, who won?
I'm getting there. So those 4 come out, and that's why I think it's going to be a triple tag team match, because then they introduce another guy, and he also happens to be black.
Whoa. That's all black everything.
Right, but he's not part of the crew. He's just another person who's going to fight with them who happens to be black.
No, I liked him because he was a proper heel.
Right.
He was good for that.
Good.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking to myself, we've got our 3 people. We got Brent Banks, we got Alex Vega, and we have this guy whom I don't really know the name of, but is clearly on their team. So the next person that comes out is Psycho Mike, and I go nuts because I love
Psycho Mike right there. Our buddy Mike Moriarty, who has been on the podcast, Mustard Mike. He actually kind of looked like Psycho Mike. Like, look at him, kind of looks like him.
So he does actually look like Psycho Mike. What we
Danny DeVito to Arnold Schwarzenegger, Psycho Mike.
So what we learned in the last fight podcast was that he was actually supposed to fight, and he didn't because he was injured. Yep. So he comes out and he takes off his shirt, and he's got the athlete's tape. So I know that he's still kind of nursing it, but he is ready to fight. So okay, opponent 1. Next person who comes out is RJ City.
City is my favorite wrestler. He's so hot.
And he's a face.
So which one was he?
He's the one that's Mr. Entertainment.
The skyline of a city on his ass.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Were you looking at his ass?
Why were you looking at his ass, Joel?
I should have been looking.
I definitely was, because he's a sexy, sexy man.
His face space looked like.
Very, very strong bone structure, tall. He had a ponytail. Regardless, let's get back to this. Yeah, there's no need. You can Wikipedia him, and it will come up. So he's the next person to come up. The third person to come up is Will White, who we also saw on the last podcast as well, who I have much admiration for. And coincidentally, as I was saying to one of the people that were watching in our group, I said, this man is nothing but class, as he rips off his first layer of underwear.
Oh yeah, that was one of those spots, like, if you weren't watching, you'd kind of look back and be like, what the fuck did he just do? But honestly, this guy, like, got so hyped up and ready that he was like, oh, I'm just going to take off a pair of my tights that I'm wearing. From the front, I'm just gonna pull it like just off of myself.
Let me tell you, when he pulled that off, I knew it was go time.
And not to bring any sort of color into this, I'm just going to reference that his first set of undies were white, and when he took them off, they were black. I'm just saying.
Everything, all black, everything, all black, everything. Oh.
So here's now where it kind of takes a turn, because at this point I'm thinking, okay, Will White, RJ City, and Psycho Mike against All Black Everything, until Silesia comes in, and I'm like, what the F? First off, she's a woman, which fine, I have nothing against, but
Compared to last time when they brought the woman out and she didn't do anything and botched everything, this girl, what's her name?
Silesia.
She was awesome. Like Sleaze?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Silesia comes out and
yeah, process that now.
She does sort of like a double clothesline to two of the individuals in the match. She does the spot. Basically
Okay, but don't get ahead of this. Don't get ahead of this. So, all of them come out, and there are 8 people now, so I'm a little worried. So Brett Banks disappears. Woman with spokesperson, and
everybody teams up on Brett Banks at the very beginning, just throws him out of the ring.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was Royal Rumble rules.
So
didn't get back in
for a while,
for a good 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So once somebody, and I don't know who, but somebody throws the first punch, we finally realize it's a 6-man, and it's Psycho Mike. It is.
Whatever, Psycho Mike didn't wrestle in this contest. Everything that we set up until now, Psycho Mike comes later. Psycho Mike was still great, and all the things we said about Psycho Mike reign true. However, he was not in this match. Let's continue.
Okay, so this 4th match is Psycho Mike and this new guy who is a gym rat.
Holy shit, the gym rat guy was amazing, but he was there with TNA, ex-TNA superstar Taylor Hendrick, who is phenomenal.
Smoke show.
She has smoke show.
She is. She had red hair. She had this corset type thing on with a tight miniskirt. I mean, and she had these cute high heels. She really looked like a bombshell.
She had all the tits and all the ass.
And she wasn't afraid to get in with it with the crowd, eh?
Sure.
Like she was getting a lot of really hardcore heckles from the crowd, and she took none of that shit. She turned around and gave it back tenfold, and I said, damn, that woman's got some.
So moving on to that, during the match, there was nothing overly crazy in terms of.
No, it's a standard match. I want to glaze over this. I mean, we can talk about Taylor Hendricks, but go look her up online. She's very, very, very pretty. Basically, the finish of this match was sort of a situation where the ring rat guy had a bottle of like creatine that was sort of his gimmick. She gets it. There's a schmoz situation where he almost gets, she almost hits her. Fuck!
It's getting crazy over here.
I know.
So she attempts to hit Psycho Mike, but it kind of backfires. He's clever. He catches onto it, which he did a lot of during the match. They tried to set up each other so that one of them can dig Psycho Mike, and he caught mostly all of them.
Yeah, I got super distracted by that, but that is what happened. And basically, at the end of the day, the ring rat basically just wins because of outside shenanigans.
Yeah. What happened was the girl tried to lure him in,
which was really funny to see. That was really hilarious because she kept doing it, but he's like a psycho, right? So he like goes over and does like a spot where he kind of puts his arm down on the rope and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
It was really kind of clever, but then she tries to hit him with the protein powder, whatever it was. He got angry, and then the guy whom she was with ended up kicking.
Basically, if you've ever seen a match with a female valet who is on the side of one of them, that's what basically happened.
Yes, so that was that match. No, fifth. So that was match 4. The 5th one is the 6-man tag team, and we were kind of touching up on it. So it's Alex Vega, it's Sleazia, RJ City, Will White, it's that black guy who is unknown.
We already kind of glazed over.
And there was this Irish, kind of looking failed porn star person with a really creepy mustache.
No. Whoa! That was my boy.
Okay.
He was
that guy's not a failed porn star. He's a vaudevillian act. He's an old school brawler.
Exactly.
And if I
fisticuffs, baby.
This is what I wanted to talk
Fisticuffs.
to Keith about.
He creeped me out.
He was awesome.
Keith, I have to ask you a question. No, we're all.
No, we're live here.
He's gonna be here.
This is going to take a lot of editing.
Podcast. All right.
Anyway, that was my co-host Keith could come in and sing some Radiohead for you. But basically what ends up happening is we have this guy who's, you're probably familiar with the Vaudevillains on NXT. Now, who came up with the gimmick first? This guy who's clearly doing the Vaudevillain gimmick or the Vaudevillains. Adrian English is his name. And Simon Gotch, his strongman tag team partner.
Now, do you think that, a guy like him with the fisticuffs and that whole fighting Irish style, I mean, that's where wrestling started, People used to gamble over those matches back in the 20s and 30s. And really, do you think that his persona is a little bit of an homage to the creation of public fighting?
The wrestling sideshow.
Absolutely.
I found him just really creepy. Regardless, I touched on this on the last podcast that we did, where it was also a 3-on-3 when Ashley Six got destroyed. I thought that there was just too much talent.
That's sort of a running theme for Ashley Six. He always gets like he's the super face. We'll get to that, but
We'll get to that because Ashley Six wasn't actually in this match. But I mean, I rave about Alex Vega not only because I think he's the most streamy dude ever, but also because he and Brent Banks, the reason I cheer for them even though they're heels is because their athleticism is second to none in the ring. And I mean, Will White is no chump. He's quite great as well. So there's so many star players, and even though nobody was on a team, nobody really highlighted. Nobody had a move. Nobody did something crazy. There was no clear winner, and that disappointed me.
And I just want to say a personal message to Keith, who will be editing this later, but it's not part of the podcast right now. You got Jason drunk tonight, buddy. You did it. We're there, buddy.
Let me tell you, those whiskey shots didn't hurt either. But listen, what I love seeing so much is when I was a kid, I watched The Undertaker, who came out as a heel, but he was so cool. He was so awesome.
That's like earlier tonight when I was saying ham hock.
Yes.
Gorilla Monsoon,
Yes.
the first thing I ever said about The Undertaker was, look at that ham hock.
He gained the hearts of the people, even though he's a goddamn necromancer.
And he scared the shit out of children.
He scared those children shitless.
So relating that back, we have Alex Vega, who's a heel. We have RJ City, who's kind of a heel, but not so much.
He's so lovable. He didn't get to sing any songs tonight, but though he's
lovable, but he insults people. So he is kind of a passive-aggressive heel. So, I mean, you have those two heels. You have this Irish porn star who didn't do anything. And we have this unknown black fighter who also didn't do anything. We have Sleazia, who had her 5 minutes. She had that great double.
Yeah, she stood up after getting hit down, and she did a double clothesline to two guys. It was awesome. Yeah. But basically, who was the winner of this match again?
Alex Vega.
Oh, Alex Vega.
But she came in. Actually, it was Sleazia's match. She had just KO'd. She was ready for the 3 count. And then, of course, our villains, our heels, came in and stole the show again. and nobody saw it coming. Everybody thought Sleazia had it, and it was. If I was sitting down, I would have been at the edge of my seat, but I was standing room only.
So you're the edge of the world.
Standing room only.
And that was actually pretty cool. So it was really nobody's match. Nobody took over for too long. Everybody took their cheap shots, and absolutely, we all thought Sleazia had the count until Alex Vega snuck in, moved them out of the way, and just brutally forced the 3 count from Sleazia. So
that's what happened.
Yes.
You know what you could say is that Vega out-sleazed the Sleazia.
Good time. So this is where we enter intermission. We had our 5 matches. There was nothing crazy. There was no live band this time. They just played music.
No, I guess there was a live band before, like a metal band played. Are we at the intermission now?
The formal intermission is now, yeah.
Okay, so basically, we come back, and it was the beatbox guy. So I guess the next match is the squash match. Oh, is the no, not title for title. Unification. That feud lives on. I really just want to gloss over this because it was probably one of the better matches of the night, save the main event. But when you end a unification title match in a disqualification, which we'll get to why that happened, it really sucks because I know I'm going to watch the next show anyway, but it really just sets you up to go on to the next, And when you don't have commentators sort of walking, like holding your hand and walking through the storylines, you literally just have to infer what's happening. And basically, we get this great title match. Don't get me wrong. And the thing about it is, like, Ashley Six, was the proprietor of Fight Brand, and he's got his title, and he's going up against the other title from a guy that was in his organization. You have to know that their charisma is going to be phenomenal, right? So they put on a great match.
Okay, but let's start with that. So, post-intermission, Brent Banks comes out. Everybody is rowdy because they are already upset about Alex Vega and the way he won.
Like everything.
Right. So they're already getting some flack. We don't really know what's happening. We just kind of see Brent Banks with the belt. Ashley Six comes out, and of course the crowd goes wild for all the reasons Jason mentioned. And this is kind of where I put it together. And I was like, okay, if Brent has the squared circle title and Ashley Six has the fight title, then this is where they start to merge. The winner will then take over the super kick title.
That's not what happens. I mean, it literally just goes to a schmoz. The whole All Black Everything faction come in, and they wreck host. Then they try to do a table spot.
Wait, but you just want to gloss over this. Hold on, because this was a good match. This was really good. In the sense that it started off well. They did some elbow shots, whatever. But what was good about it was the length. Without it getting boring, they both held their own in that ring. It was an equal match all the way through. And even at one point, All Black Everything did their classic, distracting the ref while they beat on Ash. So it was a quality match. And at the end, what happened was they tried, and by they I mean the Asian girl gave Brent Banks the titles, and Brent Banks was supposed to hit Ashley. Ashley caught it in time and beat the shit out of him and had the 3 count. We watched the 3 count happen, but right before the ref stopped that 3 count, the person who speaks for them, the spokesperson, pulled the ref out of the ring, and that's what made the disqualification happen.
You fucked up! You fucked up! You fucked up!
Pretty much.
Yeah. No, it was great, though, because it's the classic Japanese table spot. Japanese tables never break. So if you go and watch Botchamania, you're going to see a lot of guys try to get smashed through tables. I've never seen it on WWE television, and I definitely have never seen it in real life. But he fucking tries to powerbomb through this table, and he just bounces off of it.
And this is after the fight. So after they call the disqualification, Alex Vega, the spokesperson, and Brent Banks all enter the ring, beat up on him, set up this Japanese table, and they all 3 of them put force into slamming him down, and still the table didn't break.
You fucked up! You fucked up!
It was the shield powerbomb. and they couldn't break the table. So what they do is the spokesperson guy takes the table, throws it in the corner, and they just do this horrible spot. It didn't break at the middle, it broke at like the bottom. So
holy shit! Holy shit!
Ashley Six is nursing his wounds right now on a reality level. Like, that guy is hurting right now.
Like, they actually, you know when they grab you from one corner of the ring and they slam you in? Well, what happened was that the spokesperson went to go slam Ash. Ash stopped centimeters before the table, and then he just drove his body into Ash, into the table. Table breaks, and it was hard.
You didn't just hear that crack, you felt it.
Yeah.
And it looked great. I thought it looked great.
It looked great.
And I think that would have been cool had somebody won, regardless of who won.
No, on top of that, it would have been cool if other guys from the back came out and helped out Ashley Six.
And this happened over a span of minutes. They were beating on Ash for a while. They had to take out the table, set up the table, and the whole time we were like, somebody's got to come out and help Ash. There's no way they're going to leave him.
You're totally right, Julia. We all wanted to see a tag team come out. Who's going to help Ashley Six? Who's going to come out there? Nobody. Nobody came to his defense. He just took it. He took it. And you know what? And I don't want to get meta here, but once I found out that he had a part of the organization, I said, no wonder he's the champion. And that gave me one more reason to cheer for the heel All Black Everything.
Yeah, no, All Black Everything was a great heel faction. But the reason why I wanted to just glass over this is because it did result in a disqualification, which means we will see a rematch next month. And I'm sure it's going to go the same way. There's All Black Everything.
They stole the belt, though. Do you think that's going to come into play?
Yeah, it absolutely will. When Brett Banks
stole the belt from Ashley
walked
Six.
out with both titles, but of course the ring announcer comes up and says, of course, this is a disqualification, so no belts have been changed or unified.
Yeah, and that kind of was the disappointing piece of that puzzle, I think.
It was fun, though. At the end of the day, we had a great time.
Oh, it was a blast!
So this was match 6. The first one after intermission. We've got 2 more left. Now, we talked about a David and Goliath disappointment last time, and let me tell you, before we even get into this, I felt like deja vu. I was actually stunned. I couldn't even believe this was happening. And so this was one where we introduced a character called 12 because he was blonde, he had long hair, and he looked like a child, and he played up the crowd. He was great. So when we see him come out, naturally we're thrilled. We have this heel come out, which is somebody something. He's got something written on his ass. We know his last name is something.
He was another giant ham hock of a man. This was just a giant, beefy fucking giant. And then you have Colby come out next, and you're like,
Colby is not short. No. Colby is not fat. He is ripped.
He is, but he looks like a tiny child in man form. Like,
he speaks like an Xbox gamer, a 13-year-old Xbox gamer.
You know, I'm okay with that. But anyway, I really...
You are, Julia, you horn dog!
Not at all. Actually, I think he's way too young for me. I've got maybe...
We all know why you show up.
Whatever.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
I think I have like 13 years on him, so that's gross.
Ladies and gentlemen, our co-host with the snap into the Slim Jim comment.
We all have our own reasons for attending. Well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene. Let him have a dream.
Anyway, so
with no attraction to this 212.
He comes out, he gets car crashed, he gets fucking owned and broken in about 10 seconds.
3 moves. That's all it took. 3 moves.
He didn't get one hit.
No, it was about 15 seconds. At the end of the day, that's not the reason why this match happened. They were debuting a new tag team, who I'm calling the Pigs. They came out.
Oh man, hold on. Calling them the Pigs is really funny because that's actually a play on what they are. He, 12, was stunned and was like, what the fuck happened? My debut is ruined. Somebody should call the cops.
Oh yeah, when he cut that promo. Yeah, I get it.
And they came out and they had pig masks on and batons.
It was shades of Wyatt family, sort of. They came out very ominously.
They call them Billy Clubs.
And then came out to the Insane Clown Posse chicken hunting, which I thought was hilarious.
And they were really, real creepy. Let me tell you, they came out and they struck fear into the hearts of everybody.
Well, you know something. Well, that's pretty much all that happened. And they killed him. They murdered him even harder.
Oh!
I actually genuinely felt really bad. That was crazy.
Why?
Because this isn't New York. That's why.
Cops are gonna be perpetrating everywhere.
No, I was cheering for the kid too.
Yeah.
And when those guys came out, I was hoping that maybe the fraternity would come out and maybe help them out.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Yeah. This was another one where I actually thought a spin would come off of it because people in the wrestling community would be like, what the fuck? You have cops beating on people? Let's fix this. But it didn't happen that way.
Much like Orange is the New Black, the tag team, I like the new Pig tag team.
You know
All Black everything and the Pig Cops, fucking phenomenal writing.
What's the kid's name again?
Colby.
We call him 12.
Colby.
Now listen, Kobe kind of shot himself in the foot because as soon as the mic hit him, it was like I was on Call of Duty.
Yeah, he was drawing
it was.
He was drawing heat.
He came off kind of like a privileged kid. Where are the police? I need help. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I was cheering for him when he came out.
He literally
the
drew the heat.
I think he deserved the beating he got.
Well, I do too because I hate good guys, but. At the end of the day, fuck yes. Let's get on to our main event.
He's a privilege.
Okay, so that all shenanigans happened. So Kobe is now out. I'm crying a little inside. We now understand that there's going to be a new act, a new tag team. They're the police, the pigs, whatever you want to call them. Before we actually hit the main event, we have a beatboxer. Right, so I think it's very clear how Jason felt about this. He obviously did not like it at all.
Who the fuck books a beatboxer?
Ashley Six did. So, a few people.
I think Ashley Six owed that guy a couple favors.
So a few people actually really liked it. You could see some people in the crowd really getting into it. There were people like Jason who were not digging it at all. It happened maybe for about 7 minutes. I thought he was really talented.
No, the audience cheered for him. Like, don't get me wrong. Everybody, like, they were okay with it. It was just very, like...
Out of place.
Yeah. I would have rather the metal band came back out and played a couple of songs.
And listen to me. Nobody wants to hear somebody go... for 7 goddamn minutes.
That could have been a 7-minute match.
You know, don't hold back. Tell me what you really think.
I thought it was great. Fuck! It was the best part of the night.
Great. So that's how we felt about that. And that was the introduction to the main event.
And now for our Smarkamania Superkick'd main event.
It is Paul London.
Yeah! London!
And TNA's
Chris Sabin.
That's
a
big fucking deal.
Okay.
Tell us about Chris Sabin.
Chris Sabin is an amazing wrestler. He was in TNA. He's part of the Motor City Maniacs, or the Motor City Machine Guns, as they were called. Paul London, however, was with the Brian Kendrick, as London and Kendrick, of course, in the WWE. So basically, you fast forward several years. I went to a TCW show in Halifax, which is Twin City Wrestling, which... if you listen to our Fight Brand episode from last month, you'll know how I felt about that particular indie show.
Oh, and you need to actually revisit that podcast. It cannot be summed up.
No, it's true. Go click on that right now in the annotation. However, listen to this. The TCW show was really shitty by comparison, and I probably talked about it. But Chris Sabin played the heel, and Paul London clearly the face, because he came out in the Space Monkey attire, came out to the ring, shook hands with everybody in the front row, then walked out to the crowd and shook the hands of everybody in the crowd, then went upstairs to the balcony, spent about 3 or 4 minutes up there, and came back down and did one more victory lap.
Just to say something about that, which is going to come up later. So he had the spaceman outfit, so nobody could really see what he was about to wear. But in that moment when he did the victory lap, the actual space monkey from the opening act came out, and they did this cool camaraderie thing.
And that just sort of reminds me, all through the night, they had a special effect on the stage, and all the guys that were kind of loopy, the special effect was literally just like steam coming up from the entrance, and they all got freaked out by it. And right down to Paul London, who's an ex-WWE superstar, he still did the gimmick where it's like, oh, what is this stuff coming up? it was just,
And each person had their own thing, because Rocksteady Alex Vega, when he came out, the Steve came up and he was like, yeah, that's for me. It's because I'm hot. And then there were some people like Paul who were just like, whoa, there's steam? Check it out, there's steam. We had a few slipping nightmares. I guess people weren't anticipating the first step. That was also something that was played up really well. Ashley Six kind of walked back out and redid his entrance in a funny kind of motion. The first act just kind of took it like, holy shit, I just slipped, and we moved on. So those were two quirky things throughout the night that we got to see people play up.
But to get back to the Paul London and Chris Sabin match, these guys just put on an ROH caliber match.
Oh, I want to say something about this quickly. When Paul London took off his spacesuit outfit, immediately, because I have a torn ACL and I had surgery and then re-popped it, I saw Paul London's brace and was like, this man is injured.
It was the most ridiculous brace I think I've ever seen.
Well, and it's the general one that they just give anybody right before surgery. You can get like custom ones, and I guess he chose not to, but it was sliding down, the straps were coming off. It really was a pain in the ass.
Think about this. So I'm going to move on to the point. They have a great match overall, but they wrestle outside of the ring and into the audience. But they do a spot where Chris Sabin throws Paul London back towards the ring. And the thing is, Paul London fucking slips. And he slipped and fell hard. And I gotta say,
that was pretty intense.
I gotta say, like, he fell on that knee and he was able to still continue the match.
There were some pretty epic moments. Like, there was one where I don't know what was happening with the top rope because everybody seemed a little unsteady with it. But there was another time, too, where he was going to go from the top rope, and that leg gave on him. And I don't know whether it's because of the knee or not, but there were a few moments where he landed hard, and I was really surprised. He kind of just neglected it as if it wasn't there.
Well, they're professionals. They're from the indies. They've been wrestling in small.
I know, but you have to understand. I get it when I'm playing volleyball or when I'm swimming or when I'm doing something, and that knee pops out. There is no pretending that it is not happening, and I was in shock almost that he was able to hold up his knee as well as it did.
Yeah. And, that's the thing about it. Like, these guys, they went out. That was the match of the night easily for me. It felt like all these independent wrestlers wrestled each other, and then fucking guys from legitimate promotions came out. And I can only hope that Ashley Six does that well in ROH. And, you know what? Basically, Paul London goes over. He has the classic face win, which I got behind as a heel lover. I thought that Paul London did a great job, and Chris Sabin is fucking the man also. And tonight was just an amazing time all around. So basically, let's just sort of wind it down.
Was there one person in the audience that Paul London didn't touch personally?
No, there wasn't. We all touched him, and we were all touched by him.
Part of us all, Paul London. Let me tell you, I got a photograph of Paul London tonight, and not only is it a great photograph, it's the greatest photograph I've ever seen. And it's a picture of a Cyclops. It's something out of Power Rangers, and really endeared me to Paul London. Keith, some words?
I kept looking over, and I'm like, wow, they're still doing the podcast. This is awesome. I'm going to have to edit this later. I'm sure it was excellent, though.
Okay, so my name is Jason. My final words on this are, this is going to be the schmozziest of schmozzcasts. You're going to hear a lot of things from a lot of different people, brother. But I had a great time tonight. Paul London versus Chris Sabin. It's a match for the ages. I thought it was amazing. How do you feel about that, Keith?
RJ City for life. He's still my fave. Yeah, no, that was an amazing show. It was super great, and I'm so glad all these people came. And if even a third of them come next time, we'll be living in a paradise world.
Absolutely.
What are you doing, folks? Come on out to Superkick'd. It's once a month. It's the best time you'll ever have.
Man, maybe we can get sponsored by Superkick'd. I mean, we love this shit.
We live it and we breathe it.
So this was Stu, Jason, Keith, and myself, Julia. 8 matches, full house. Paul London at the end giving a very passionate speech. And each match having its own unique kind of quality. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. The next Superkick'd is going to be February 21st. Put it in your calendar. If you're listening to this, go see it. Come.
Buy your
Also,
girlfriend Valentine's Day tickets because it's a week after Valentine's Day.
and stay awesome.
Do you guys have any personal plugs you want to say? My name is Jason Phillips, as I said before. You can find me on Twitter at Spider Hero. You can find me on YouTube at Spider Hero as well. Stu?
My name is Stuart Hamilton from the East Coast, Halifax, Nova Scotia. You can find me bartending at Gus's Pub every night of the week. And when I'm not there, you better believe it, I'm with you. Signing off.
All right, Julie, do you have any personal plugs?
Man, I'm sorry, but Rocksteady Alex Vega, he rocks my world.
No, not guys that you are dreamy about. Do you have any
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Okay? So they rock my world. I love that whole thing. Stay tuned. Ashley Six is on Ring of Honor. He's a prospect there. So if you want to kind of duo both of them, that's great. If not, keep listening to this podcast. Superkick's amazing. Welcome.
Yeah, and you can find this podcast at KeithCourage.com. I think this was Julia's official broadcast debut.
Oh, no.
And she did an amazing job.
Keith, I left a special message for you mid-podcast. You were not a part of this.
No, really
You're
not.
a terrible co-host on this
the
day.
microphone, though.
It's true, brother. And I'm glad that you allowed us to just talk about this because you were the ultimate proprietor of the first part where you interviewed everybody.
And I personally missed you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was trying to work the crowd, you know? And Brody, to finish us off.
And to talk about the match of the year candidate, which is Keith versus Brody, the best match nobody saw, go to Squared Circle on Reddit or ask Keith about it a lot. Maybe you'll get a video, maybe get some photos, I don't know. But
Don't waste your time, brother.
Say it again for me.
I said don't waste your time, people.
Because you will never see a match that good again.
That's right. Once in a lifetime.
Then, now, forever. Goodbye.
The cream always rises to the top.
All right, Smarkamania, that's the end. Thank you for listening.
Smarkamania, brother. Smarkamania.
We'll see you for Fastlane, the greatest pay-per-view in the world. Or NXT. NXT with Michael. That's what's next. And Stu's going to fly back to Toronto just to watch NXT with us.
You're goddamn right I will.